welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am bringing you my May wrap-up. In May, I read 4 novels, and I will also be talking about one manga series that I started. The rest of the manga that I read, I will be wrapping up in a separate video. May was kind of a busy month for me, largely due to the fact that my daughter graduated from high school, so there was a lot of things that needed to be done, and my family flew in from Hawaii, so it was nice to spend some time with them. I got to see my niece. She's about 1.5 years now, and she said auntie for the first time, so that was really exciting for me. But anyway, we are here to talk about books, so let me get right into it. I started the month of May off with the Book Buddy-a-thon. This was hosted by Elena from Elena Reads Books and Sam from Cold Tea and Crumbs. My buddy this time around was Raul from Latin Lector. You know that I have been buddy reading the Rotten and Ruined series with him since last October, I believe. One of the challenges was to read a book with your buddy. And of course, we finished off the Rotten Ruin series with Fire and Ash. This is the last installment, book number 4, in the Rotten Ruin or Benny Imura series by Jonathan Maberry. I have nothing but great things to say about this book. It is a zombie apocalypse type of novel. I admit that I was very hesitant to read this series because I'm not very much into books about zombies, not into shows about zombies. The only book that I had read that had zombies in it was Warm Bodies, and that was just okay for me. But this series blew me away. This series is not about the gore. It's more about family and the friends that you make your family and the things that you do to protect them and the lengths that you'd go to for them. This series has been a 5-star series for me up until the previous novel, which was Flesh and Bone. There was just some little teenage antics going on there that grated on my nerves from one of the characters, and it just took away a slight bit of enjoyment in that book for me. But this book, Fire and Ash, was just amazing. The story just makes you want to keep reading to find out what is happening to these characters. Where's the story gonna go? This last installment really tied up all of the storylines and was a very satisfying end to what has been such an amazing series. If you are hesitant about reading this series because you think it's only about zombies, I highly recommend that you check out at least the first novel, Rotten Ruin, and see if it might be something that you're interested in, because I was pleasantly surprised that this book was so much more than just a book about zombies. I gave this book 5 stars, and I am so looking forward to reading Jonathan Maberry's Joe Ledger series. If you watched my first book outlet haul, you'll know that I did already pick up some of the books in that series, so I'm really excited to get to those, and I have really high hopes that it will be as good, if not better, than the Rotten Ruin series. Finishing this book also brought an end to the buddy reads that I have been doing with Raul at Latin Lector. If you have not checked out his channel, please do. I will link it down in the description box below. He is such a fun person to buddy read books with, and I'm really looking forward to buddy reading something else with him in the future. So the next book I read for the Book Buddy-a-thon was The Death Cure. This is The Maze Runner 3. This, of course, by James Dashner. I was spoiled about something that happens in this book quite a while back, and so I've been avoiding reading this one. I watched The Maze Runner before I read it, and I thought the movie was actually better than the book. It was just so much more exciting, for me at least. And then I read The Scorched Trials before I watched it, and the movie for The Scorched Trials took a completely different storyline, but I still enjoyed the movie probably as much as the book. Now with this third one, I was kind of left at the end with a meh feeling. I kind of went through the story waiting for the part that I was spoiled on to finally come around, and right about the time that it did, it started picking up in pace. The story started getting more suspenseful, lots of things were happening, so I really enjoyed it from that point. And I do have to say that's probably after the 50% mark, if I am not mistaken. But then we got to the end, and I was like, what? My mom was sitting next to me when I had finished the book, and she had already read it. And I looked at her and I said, "That's it? Really?" And she just looked at me and smiled and said, "Yep." And oh, it was such a letdown. That being said, I am highly anticipating the movie for The Death Cure because I have historically enjoyed the movies. So I am anxiously awaiting that, but this book just left me unsatisfied. It was a likable end to the series and a logical one, I thought, but I probably won't be reading The Kill Order. I know that he's coming out with another prequel novella called The Fever Cure, I think, sometime later this year, and that's supposed to be more about Thomas's role in the maze setup and all of that. I may read that one just because it is about Thomas and his connection to all of these trials. That is something that I felt was lacking in the storyline. So I ended up giving The Death Cure 3 stars, and we'll see if I do end up continuing with The Fever Cure later this year. The last book I read for the Book Buddy-a-thon was a manga, and that was Volume 1 of Red River by Chie Shinohara. This story follows a teenage girl named Yuki, and one day she notices that every time she goes near water, the water starts getting agitated. And so she starts having a phobia about it. One day she's walking around in the park with her new boyfriend, and she steps in a puddle and she gets sucked back into time, 14 BC Anatolia. And it turns out that the queen is the one that made Yuki teleport to her time. She wants to use Yuki as a human sacrifice to help get rid of the 2 princes that are in line for the throne ahead of her son. I saw this series on Laura's channel, Manga Hoarder, and Tasha's channel, Tasha's Books. Both of them rated this series very highly. I only read the first volume for the Book Buddy-a-thon, but I did read volumes 2 and 3 during the month as well, and I'm really enjoying this series. It is for older teens. There is a little bit of nudity. The story is really interesting. I'm enjoying seeing how Yuki has evaded the queen's attempts to sacrifice her so far, and it looks like there's gonna be a romance. There are 28 volumes in this series, so I've already read 3. I've got 2 more in the stack back there. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this story. I ended up giving volumes 1, 2, and 3 all 4 stars. Then I read the book that I was probably most excited for this year, and that is Marked in Flesh. This is number 4 in the Other series by Anne Bishop. This series follows Meg, who is a Cassandra Sang, and she is basically a blood prophet. If you cut her skin so that she bleeds, she has prophecies, and that makes her skin very valuable. In the first book, there are people that have been keeping her captive and using her ability to make money for themselves. Well, Meg escapes from their facility and ends up coming to the lakeside courtyard, where she gets a job as a liaison. She is human, but she also has powers. And the people that live in the lakeside courtyard are the Terra Indigene, or they're shapeshifters. You can tell what each person's true form is by their surname. So we have Wolfguard, who are the wolves, Bearguard, who are bears, the Sanguinati, who are the vampires. Then you've also got elementals, the Crow Guard, who are the crows, and so forth. So Meg's job is to accept parcels from the Human Postal Service and deliver them to the members of the Lakeside Courtyard. The Lakeside Courtyard has had a very hard time getting things that they order from the outside world because the humans are pretty scared of them. So Meg's job is pretty important to them. And in each story there is a little bit of a mystery. So like in the first book, it's the people who were keeping her captive want her back, so they try to come after her. This is not a series that you want to read out of order. There is a underlying storyline that continues from book to book to book. This series also has a very slow burning romance. Like, we're in book 4. We know that there's probably going to be a romance, but nothing has happened yet. With each book in the series, you definitely see a relationship kind of start to grow, but like I said, nothing has happened yet. So it is slowly killing me inside. But we did take one more step forward in this book, and I'm curious to see where this story is going to go. It seems like a storyline that has been building for a while came to a close in this 4th installment. So I'm interested to see where we're going to go in the next one. This is also the reason why I do not tend to read books in series that aren't completely out, because now I have to wait. But anyway, I listened to most of this on audio. The audiobook is fantastic. I can't recommend this series enough. The series was some of my favorite reads from 2015, so I really enjoyed this one. I did give it 5 stars, and I highly recommend that you check it out. Oh, and I almost forgot to show you some swag that I got. I got this book plate and this bookmark from the author. She was doing a virtual signing, and I was able to pick these up for when I own my own copy of this series. The last book I read in the month was The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. This I have been buddy reading with Lee from Totally Books, or totally.net. We are reading the Chronicles of Narnia in chronological order. So this is book 5 for us. This one follows Lucy and Edmund as they get sucked back to Narnia with their cousin Eustace. Eustace is a pain in the butt at the beginning of this book. They meet up with Caspian again, and they are trying to find these 7 lords. This book definitely had more magic than any of the other books in the series. I was talking to Lee, and we both said that we think if we read these when we were younger, we would have found the books more magical, but I think because we're reading them when we're older, there are some religious aspects to this story that I don't think I would have picked up on if I had read it when I was younger. I am enjoying this series, but it is a little slow for me. Like I said, this book had a little more magic in it than the other installments, so I did appreciate that. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, and we are continuing our buddy read with The Silver Chair in June. So that's all of the books that I read in May. Let me know if you read any of these. Did you participate in the book buddy-a-thon? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you're all doing great, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.